joint meeting of the Newmarket Town Council and the Newmarket School Board to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I just want to start by welcoming everyone. I was thinking about this meeting and the fact that school board member Phil Nazzaro and I both sat on the Charter Commission 10-ish years ago. And that was when we codified the fact that the town council would send a request to the school board once a year for a joint meeting. So there have been many conversations about sharing services and different ways that we can collaborate, and we've tried different things over the years. One of the nice things about this particular meeting is that it gives, I would say the town council and the school board are there are lots of important committees and boards, but two of the really important boards here in our community. And so it gives us a chance for that face-to-face time and a chance to get to know each other a little bit, at least to introduce, this is right after our town elections, and that was just in March, so it gives the community a chance to see everyone together. It gives us a chance to recognize new members and introduce ourselves. So with that in mind, my name's Toni Weinstein, and I'm the chair of the town council. I've been on the town council. I'm going into my 9th year and final year. So, and again, welcome everyone. So if we could just introduce ourselves, we'll pass it to you.
Yeah, I'm Gary Swanson. I'm the chairperson for the school board. I've been in town for, 200 years or something, I think. It feels like it. Was on the budget committee briefly, and been on the school board it's my 3rd year.
Susan Givens, Superintendent of Schools.
Been here for almost 3 years now. I'm Heather Durant. I'm on the Newmarket School Board. I've been in this position for 1 year. My husband and I, we have a son, and we've been citizens of Newmarket for almost 20 years now. I previously sat on the board for the Newmarket Youth Athletic Association as well with Gary.
Hi, my name is Andrew Hemker. I just finished my 1st year on the school board. I've been here with my family for 8 years now.
Phil Nazzaro. I just finished my 2nd meeting on the school board. Previous to this, though, I've had the opportunity to be the town moderator, to serve on the town council, and charter commission as well.
Amy Tilton. I've lived in town for about 16 years, and this is my 2nd time on the school board.
I'm Colin White. I've been a resident of Newmarket for about 28 years. My wife was originally from here. I am not. And this is, I think I've got you beat, this is my 1st and a half meeting.
I'm Joe Lamartino. This is my 1st year on the town council. Recently been on the budget committee for the last 3 years, budget committee chairman, and I've lived in town for over 40 years.
I'm Scott Blackstone. I was previously on the trustee of the trust fund, and this is about my 3rd year as being trustee of the town council.
I'm Megan Brayback. I moved here with my partner in 2019 and was lucky to join the town council shortly thereafter, and I'm in my 3rd year.
Donna Conley. I'm in my 2nd year of being a member of the town council, and we lived in Newmarket since 2010. We moved here Memorial Day weekend.
I'm Steve Fournier. I'm the town manager. I will be entering my 10th year as town manager in September. I know school board member Nazzaro was chair of the council that hired me at that time, so.
Time flies.
I know, 10 years.
We're just a bit.
Yeah.
So before we get going, I do want to say I had the opportunity to go. I wasn't able to attend either of the ceremonies, but I did get to go to the high school on Saturday, and I just want to say a huge congratulations to the school board and Dr. Givens and everything, and the community, and previous school board members who might be in the audience. Like, it was just really, I only could go, I had enough time to go to the high school. I didn't get to go to the elementary school, but it was really amazing to see the transformation of that building. So, and I was led by a senior and a junior who are just outstanding representatives. So I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Yeah, thank you.
And so then the next, I do need my glasses to look at my agenda. Time has not been kind. So that we do have a security briefing that will push to the end. So that was the next item on the agenda. But then we have an overview of the forms of government, and
We'll do it from
town
over there.
manager Fournier is going to do that for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to Councilors White and Councilors LaMattina. I've been drilling this in your head, Phil. I think this is only your meeting and a half, but it's your third presentation of this, so, and I apologize to you too. A couple years ago, we started off by just explaining, what form of government we have, what we have in New Hampshire, because actually, the school district does not operate under the same form of government as the town, which is odd in municipalities in New Hampshire. So we thought we'd try to go do a brief presentation of what we actually have for governments in New Hampshire, where we fall in. And I'm going to ad-lib a little to include some of the school, because this is more, we've done this for a lot for the local government items. So the first, there's only 4 basic types of local government in New Hampshire. The first is what we're going to refer to as a strong mayor and a board of aldermen. In that form of government, the people elect the CEO to run the city, and that's the mayor, and the people elect a representative body to set policy for the city, which is the board of aldermen. In New Hampshire, there are only 2. That's Nashua and Manchester. The next is what we refer to as the council manager form of government, or it's under Chapter RSA 49. The voters elect a legislative body for the city or town, which is called the city or town council. The head of the council serves as the figurehead for the community and runs the council meetings. They can either have the title of mayor or council chair. The council then hires a professional CEO to run the day-to-day operations of the community, which is either a city or a town manager. There are 11 cities in the state that have that, and there are 7 towns that have this form of government. Some of the cities in the area are Portsmouth, Dover, Rochester, and Somersworth, and the towns that have this form of government are Durham and Newmarket. One thing that Newmarket has that still is a vestige of the town meeting form of government that you'll hear is we still have a budgetary town meeting. So on our side, we only have 2 items that go, besides election of officers, that traditionally go on the ballot, are the budget and bonds. Everything else, the council adopts it. And I'll explain the next ones. And traditional ones is select board SB2. Take out select board and say school board, and it's the same similar government. Voters elect the board to serve as the governing body. They may appoint a town manager or a town administrator to be the chief administrative officer. The difference between a manager and administrator in this form of government is that the manager has duties set forth by state statute, where an administrator only receives the authority that is given to them by the board. In the former form, it doesn't. It's all set by statute. They can call it administrator or manager. They all have certain authorities. They actually have the authorities of the city manager. The town meeting serves as a legislative body. It has 2 sessions. First, the deliberative session, where the people meet to amend and debate articles. And then they have the second, which is town meeting day, election day, where you vote on the articles in the ballot box. There are 68 towns in the state that have this. I'm not sure of the number of school districts. It's not always 1-to-1. Exeter, Hampton, and Rye and Barrington have that around us, as well as Epping. And finally is the traditional, what everybody thinks of, the traditional town meeting, where voters elect the select board to serve as a governing body. Again, they do not have to appoint administrator or chief administrative officer. The town meeting serves as a legislative body. It's the quintessential Norman Rockwell painting that everybody thinks of, but somebody standing up in the big hall and debating the articles. They meet annually to approve the warrant articles and the annual budget. And most towns in the state still have this. Around us, Stratham and Newington are still traditional town meetings. Schools are pretty much the same as the last 2. They're either, if there's independent district, they either have a school board with SB2 form or a school board with town meeting form. If they're a dependent school district, it is set forth by adopting a charter by the state. I think the last one that was adopted was in the 60s. And that's all under the council form of government, the city form. That's in those forms of government, which you'll hear, is that the school board presents a budget to the council, and the council ultimately adopts one large budget. And they also, if a bond needs to be passed in Portsmouth, Dover, Rochester, Somersworth, the council votes for the bond. They vote for the budget. That's why they call it a dependent school district, because the school boards have to go to the councils to receive those items. So those are the basic forms of government that we have. And I think that's the only reason why we bring that up is because sometimes people ask, well, why doesn't the council have to do that, or the school board can do that and we can't? Because we don't have the same form of government. Usually we hear it from, well, I want a petitioned article. Sorry, the council adopts those items. Or why does the council get to vote on this? Well, that's the form of government. So I just wanted to go through that. Board Member Nazaro.
So you're saying petition warrant article?
Yes.
Is no longer allowed.
We've never, actually, if the charter, you're not allowed to have a petition warrant article unless you're raising funds. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, we got legal on that one. Because it's the legislative body is the town council in that situation. Any other questions on forms of government? And I know the chair and Dr. Givens and the former chair and I had brief discussions about reviewing. I know the council may review some changes coming up. And I know we talked briefly about, okay, what can we do to maybe look at when we hold our town meetings and those kind of items. And I'd probably turn that back over to the chair to have some discussions on our previous items. We had with Chair Shelton. Remember, possibly changing dates or?
I don't recall
Okay.
the specifics. Well, I don't recall the specifics of what did we say that we would change.
Well, I know we were looking at some of our changes, and was it beneficial if we were to change our meetings to May, which gives us a shorter time for our budgets. It gives us longer time to actually prepare the budget, but shorter time between when the budget's adopted and the beginning of the fiscal year. We did have a May town meeting until, I believe, right before I got here, so it must have been 2011 or 10. Problem is, not a lot of municipalities have May town meetings, and people think they're still, vote in March. We were going to look at other items on our charter, but it was just something to think about if we look at items this coming year.
Right, we've talked about the possibility of, because it has been 10 years, the possibility of another charter commission and whether or not that would make sense. I mean, that's primarily affects the town piece of the government, not the school district. But things like town voting day, I mean, those are items that we would definitely want to collaborate on. And I think that if we did have a charter commission, and in order to do that, we have to put that on the next warrant.
Yeah, it would be March 23.
To enable a charter commission to be voted on. I think that we would definitely want representation from the school district. I mean, everyone from the school board, I should say. I don't have anything else to add at this point. I don't know if anyone had any comments or. It is probably good practice, to every 10 or so years to really examine the charter and make sure that there aren't things that, sometimes items just become outdated, or you over time realize that we're not in step with state law. We've had those questions in the past, so.
And it's good because municipalities change and grow. And what was good 20 years ago or 30 or 50 years ago may not be good today, or what we have currently is not working and may need to get changed. So that's probably a good reason to look at the government.
So the next item on our agenda is our current projects.
Sure. Do you want to?
If you-
School wants to go. Or?
Well, thank everybody for supporting our budget this year, of course, and the special town meeting in the fall. We have a number of facility-related projects that have been queued up. So what was approved last fall was funds to support upgrading the electrical and the old section of the elementary school, updating the windows that had not been as a result of the building project, and if money permit, taking care of some ventilation issues there as well. So in order to do the ventilation, you have to do the electrical, so they're all kind of interrelated. And so we've had our facilities director working to put together some specifications so that we can go out to bid on that. In addition, the building project was complete, but anybody that was there at the junior senior high school noticed that the landscaping inside the courtyard had not been completed, so we're actually waiting. I was hoping by now we would have some schematics for how we might design that space to be able to use as kind of an outdoor learning space, but also an area where kids could go to perform and enjoy their lunch or to relax, because it's right outside of the Library Media Center. So we're excited about that. And then, of course, the PTA for some time has been trying to do some fundraising around a playground at the elementary school. Of course, there is a playground, but there's been a lot of work to design what that kind of future concept would look like, taking into account the needs of all students at all developmental ages. So we did have some schematics out there at the elementary school that you weren't able to take a peek at, but we're really excited to be able to be making some progress on that. So every year we do some improvements to our buildings, and at the elementary school, the old section, we've been tackling so many classrooms, updating, going from carpet to tile, and doing some painting and things like that. So we're hopeful that, if we keep on pace by the end of next year, we should have all of those spaces in the elementary school updated. So we're excited about that. We have some security upgrades here in this building. Of course, we're on the 3rd floor. There is no vestibule, and we don't have adequate cameras or television monitors to see who's coming into the buildings, and buzzers and things like that. So we're updating that, and so we're excited. We've got a lot of things on the facility side. On the education side, we this year we introduced a core math program. The school district has not had a core math program in quite some time, and so a lot of our efforts, especially at the elementary school level and middle school, has been focused on inquiry-based learning models and how that translates into an exciting and engaging math learning for kids. So we're excited about that, and we're hopeful that in the next couple of years we'll begin to see better and better results in numeracy for our kids. I see a question. I don't know if you want me to continue or just stop, or
I was just curious about what's the core math program?
So Bridges at the elementary and Illustrious Math at the middle high school level. In addition, we've had a focus on developing a curriculum. A lot of work has gone into that this year. At the junior senior high school, our focus has been on understanding by design those concepts, and each teacher is to design two units using that method. We have a NEASC review that began this year. We're doing our self-study, and one of the items that was noted in the last review was that we didn't have a vertically and horizontally articulated curriculum in a common format. So we've begun the work on that, and that will take 3 to 5 years to complete, really. But we've made great strides this year, and we've been continuing to expand learning opportunities for kids at the junior, senior high school level. So we did have a presentation to the board, and in spite of COVID, many of our learning outcomes have improved, and we feel very proud about that. And so I would say those are all of our projects. We have a lot going on, the least of which is trying to operate with an 11% labor shortage, and of course absenteeism related to COVID. So those have created challenges for everyone, and I just want to acknowledge that we've been able to do an awful lot with a little, and that's because we have awesome, committed staff.
Thank you.
So I will start off on the same issue, that we are also having a hard time hiring individuals across the board. I know we just had a staff meeting today, and the rec department has enough people signing up for it, but we may not have enough staff to supervise every child during the summer. So we may not be able to have as large as a program as we wish, but we're trying to, we still have some time, but we're good at, if anybody's watching, if somebody wants to apply for recreation counselor, please come down, go to the rec department and get an application. We are still looking for some. But that's, we're hearing it across the board. I had it earlier when we advertised this year. We advertised for a code enforcement officer and didn't quite get there with that position. However, on the flip side, I did hire a new community development director. His name is Bart McDonough, comes to us from the town of Kittery, Maine. He started on Monday and is getting his feet wet now. And his first thing will now be advertising for the code enforcement officer position to get that going. During the budget, they approved a new position of town engineer, which will be assisting us. Currently, we contract out engineering services for the town. We've been reviewing it the last 2 years, and we've gotten to the point, even our engineering contract said, it's time for you guys to look at to bring it in-house, because they don't have the staff to assist us with all the projects we have. So we are going to bring a town engineer on staff. As always, that's a position that if school needs any assistance with engineering that we can provide on that level, that individual will help. No questions asked. We hope to have that person on the beginning of the fiscal year, which is July 1, because we have a lot of projects coming on board. The big one this year will be New Road. It's going to be a complete reconstruction. Been many years in the making. We'll be redoing the stormwater system under there, replacing all water and sewer lines under there, and then repaving it to redo it. It's going to be a pretty much what you saw in front of the school this year, plus we're going to add stormwater to it. Please be patient with us, New Road residents. It's going to be difficult. One thing to bring up with that, though, is also the cost that we're seeing with construction. Inflation is hitting us just as everybody else. Our big concern, one of the things we saw was salt was a 75% increase over budget, just because salt was stuck on a ship, much like everything for a while, and it didn't get in. So we saw an overage there. We didn't see overage in use, but overage in cost. We did see one of the things that, to let the school board know, and I know it probably they can feel for this, is that we prefer snow events than rain and ice events, because that actually costs us more money in the long run, because the crews are out there longer and we need more salt and sand versus a plowing event where we can clear it up. And we had many more ice events this year than we did snow events. So we did see some costs there. The other big one, which everybody else is feeling, is oil. And our big oil part is paving. So we're already understanding our paving costs are going to go up exponentially, and we may not be able to do as much as we hoped in our plan, but we're going to do as much as we can with the budget that we have in front of us. Other projects that we're going to be working on, finally moving forward with the Tucker Well construction. When I got here 10 years ago, water was a huge issue. I mean, we were on a water moratorium that you basically couldn't use it during the summer. We haven't been on that for probably 3 or 4 years, unless we had to do what we should be doing, is maintaining and reconstructing the wells that we have. We're now going to be bringing another well online so we can have even a more larger water supply for the community. The other items that we're working on, of course, is ARPA funds and projects that we can use there. There are a lot of projects and programs out there that we're looking at. I just got another one today for FEMA to replace culverts that we're going to be reviewing. So it seems like every week or so we get another project to see if we can comply, as well as we have projects available to do the items. We have not tapped into our ARPA funds that we received, because we wanted to wait to see what the regulations were so new and so fluid at the beginning. We're like, you know what, let's hold off a little, because we've already done a lot of our projects and moving forward. That if the rules change, then we can change and could bring up a project that could fit at that time. If it doesn't seem that way, then we're going to move down and try to do something else. Internally, we will be conducting a salary survey for all town employees this year. We have not done one since I've been here. We're going to be hiring an outside consultant to do so. So it's going to be an independent salary survey to see where we are, to address that issue of, are we paying a fair wage to all town employees? If not, where are we? Are we too high, too low? Are we in the right area? Those are a lot of the large ones, as well as just the normal housekeeping, and try to keep everything going. Oh, just real quick, forgot about that. 152 north of Grant Road will also be repaved this year in case any school items there. We just found that out this week, so that's the state's project. So we'll do our project till Grant Road, and then they're going to take over to do theirs. Just coincident the same year.
Steve, could you send me? I'm meeting with the bus company on Tuesday.
Sure.
If you could send me that information, that'd be
Yep.
great. I'll share it with them. Also, I'd love to be able to add some of our like positions to the study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, it's not on here, as far as projects go, I know we've been talking a lot, and the town council will be having a joint meeting with the planning board coming up. And, there was some preliminary plans for developing the 3 gateways to town. And so that's on the north end of 108, the south end of 108, and then the western side of 152. So it's another thing to kind of keep an eye out for as we move forward in the next years.
What those proposals are at this point. We hired an economic development consultant to work with the council, planning board, actually stakeholders, met with all stakeholders. The basic idea, the plans are online. North Main Street would be a continuation of Main Street, basically the town line, have mixed-use development up to that area. NCDC owns a large parcel of land where the coffee kiosk used to be, that we'd like to begin to redevelop that. But if you notice, we put in all the infrastructure and sidewalks up there the last few years, and that's to help develop that area. For the Exeter Street South 108 portion, what they're looking at is actually zoning, or come up with a recreational type zoning that would encourage to promote the recreational activities we have there with the golf course, the trails, the gym, and add others. One of the ideas would be taking town-owned land in the area and develop a passive bike park that is very popular around New England. You try to get into one in Massachusetts, you can't. I know people who go from Massachusetts all the way to the East Kingdom in Vermont, because it's like the place you can get to one. But it's also, we're on the terminus of the rail trail that goes to, you can get basically to Manchester. And at some point in time, they hope to connect it to Portsmouth. So we want to use that benefit to see what we can do for economic development. On the flip side would be the businesses in the area, and example would be Windsor, Vermont. They have a similar types of, they have a recreation, but they have stores, bike stores in the area. They have the Harpoon Brewery in the area. They have some restaurants that, you know, they use it, and people get off their bikes and they'll go in, they'll have something to eat, or they were out there riding all day or doing whatever. It's sort of just to look at a new idea for that area. Also, it's passive because it is part of our aquifer that is, and is near the bay, and we want to try to protect that as well. For 152, we have a lot of gravel pits out there. And the idea for that would be, and this is a long-term idea, but almost like self-contained developments. You're seeing a lot of them pop up now. That would be everything from apartments down to homes, townhouses in between. But it would also provide there's some services that restaurants, some banks, those kind of items. Locally, you can see them now. The big one that would be in Dover called Point Place, which is near Dover Point. Portsmouth is opening up a lot of smaller ones, but it's something, just an idea that it would be a self-contained community out there. Because one of the things that they determined was where you live in town is almost based on where you work. If you live towards the western part of Newmarket, you focus on 125 going towards Manchester. If you're in town this way, you're focused either to Durham and Stratford County, Dover, that area to travel to. Or if you're in the Exeter, you can go to Exeter real easily too. So it's sort of where that dividing part of where people commute to work is either Seacoast or Manchester. And that's why they're just looking at that kind of idea. And that's going to give Bart something to do for them now. While he's here.
Any other questions? So then the next item on our agenda is the town hall and facilities discussion.
So, Capital Improvement Plan Committee met last year, as they always do, and they brought up to me, basically, they threw it on the table and said, what's the future of town hall? We're putting a lot of money into the building. I said, I don't think there's any idea that's going to go anywhere, but we're going to need to upgrade it. We've been piecemealing, upgrading heating elements, upgrading cosmetic items, but we're going to need to look at, one, we're running out of room. Town staff is pretty much max upstairs. We have no conference room except for the council chambers or this area. So we have no really confidential conference room. We have a small one in my office, but other than that, we don't have a confidential one. On the flip side is we have some surplus building. We have the water facility on Packers Falls Road that is now basically storage, beautiful location. We have the Beach Street Community Center, which we do some recreation programming in there. But we also have space needs at the police station as well as some at the community center. So our intention would be to use Buildings and Grounds Capital Reserve Fund to conduct a facility study to determine what do we need for our facilities for the next 5 to 10 years and what we need to invest in. And just to be the good neighbor when we're in a condo and what the school district owns a floor, that we would like to include that floor in the discussion to see what would be the future need also for the SAU. Is it here? Is it somewhere else? Is it another building that we already own? But we just don't want to surprise you guys one day and show up with tape measures and say, oh yeah, no, we're doing a facility study. We're going to measure to see what's up here. So it's sort of that warning. We put off a lot of large maintenance projects for our buildings. We did a lot of investing in the 90s, but we put off some during the determination of what was the path for the new schools. And now we need to look at some of our facilities and what we need to do to maintain it for the next 30 to 50 years.
Dr. Givens, I would assume you guys on the third floor are kind of tight for space as it is. Is that a true statement?
Well, we've done a lot of adjusting and to be able to accommodate what our needs are, and we renovated the annex in order to be able to accommodate some additional SAU needs. So at least for the time being, we're not anticipating expanding staff. So I don't know that we have bulging needs at this point. We've kind of addressed the issues we had.
Yeah, we'd like the second floor.
Yeah. Turn it back to a school.
Not what I have in mind.
I mean, to Steve's point, I mean, the windows don't work up there. So I think that there's some infrastructure
Yeah.
pieces. We have some concerns about egress.
Anecdotally,
You
the
know.
window in my office cracked 2 weeks ago, and they came in. They said we thought it was because there was an accident outside the building, and maybe it shook the building enough. They said no, it's the building just shifted a little. It's an older building, and it's going to happen. And my office cracked, and there's a window crack that they're fixing. But those windows are also difficult to open. Got them open, depending on the temperature.
So if Steve's having a hard time opening the windows,
Yeah.
you can only imagine
No,
the
it's actually
struggle
mine
I
open
have.
fine. I can open
a little
mine. I just
shorter,
can't.
not
Yeah.
quite as strong. I have one window that I can get open this much,
Yeah.
and it usually takes Patty and I to try to get a little fresh air in. So it is a challenge and a problem, a concern. That if there was something that happened, many of our office spaces were trapped in. You can't get out a window, and you only have one door, so if there's danger of any sort. So, yeah, I mean, those type
Yeah,
of
and
things.
and we know there's a wiring issue
Yeah.
on the third floor
So-
that we need to address.
But a lot of things have been updated.
Yeah.
I mean, it started with Greg Marles had a plan, and we've completed the implementation of the plan that started before I arrived.
Mhm.
But he had certain things that were done each year, so the HVAC has been done. I'm guessing everywhere, but pretty much, the spaces, to the extent that we could complete work, we have. But the windows, like I said, and some egress issues are things we grapple with all the time. So if we can find a way to be able to give access, out the window that would open, so that if something happened, you could, besides lunging out and grabbing on the tree and skidding down, which it's a little challenging for me at my age, but I'd do what I had to do if I had to do it, right?
Yeah, and
So-
just to let everybody know that this building only owns the footprint of the building. We have an agreement with the Archdiocese of Manchester that we'll use the front parking lot during the day unless there's a funeral or a mass. If not, the only parking lot we have is the one behind. If anybody who works here, if there's a large funeral, they know that the little yellow signs come up and we cannot park out front during the day. So expansion is not always an option here as well, unless we go backwards. So there's some nuances with this building as well.
Can I just ask you a question? You mentioned renovating the annex.
Across the street from the junior, senior high school, there was a space that we were using as an art classroom during the building project. And once we were able to move back in, then we were able to update that space, new heating system in the windows and such. So from an infrastructure standpoint, the school department's in pretty good shape. These projects I mentioned, once these are done, the town should be in really good shape for the school for a good, I would say, 20, 25 years, other than routine things like replacing carpet that doesn't last that long. But, a lot of investment by the community has been made to address those issues over the last 5 years. So we're in pretty good shape.
And on our side, it's, we have this building, but most municipal buildings, I think schools, I always said like 20 years lifespan for a school. That's what I always heard. Municipal buildings are usually 30, 50, 75. Police department's coming up to 30.
Mm-hmm.
So and policing today is a lot different than it was in 1990s, and what their needs are. So that's something we need to look at. Community centers about the same time frame. So it's time to look at those too. I kept thinking the same thing. Oh, those are pretty new buildings, but they're 30 years old. So it's time to make sure. And if we address it now, you don't have to do a large project later. So that's the other thought. We came in here in mid-'80s, and I did a renovation. They renovated it shortly after, like early '90s as well. And that's when the police department, I think, left. The police department, could you imagine, the police department was in here as well at one point in time.
Wow.
So,
Really?
Yeah.
right. The next item on our agenda is potential town and school collaborations. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can certainly talk about some of the things that we have been doing. You know, so one of the, you know, and Jana has talked about this, I'm sure Steve has as well, that when it comes to grants and being strategic in how we can leverage some of the grant opportunities that are coming down the street, we do collaborate on that so that we can use every nickel of grant money before we hit taxpayer dollars. And as a result of that, we've been able to turn back some fairly significant amounts of money at the end of the last couple of years. Some is due to the fact that, you know, on the school side, there's programs we couldn't implement, you know. So we had money in the budget for a full complement of co-curricular and athletic activities, but last year we weren't able to do much in that arena. So some of those, you know, opportunities we normally provide, we didn't, but also a huge amount of it. In fact, Jana's putting together the report for the board for next week, but you know, they keep, you know, making other grant opportunities available, and if we can take money that, you know, from this pot and apply it in a grant scenario, then we're taking advantage of that. But the town has, and the schools have collaborated on how to use some of this grant money, and the towns have been great. You know, when the spike hit back in January, and we were, you know, looking for masks, you know, Steve was great. He was able to, you know, get us some masks, some of those KN95 masks, so that we could offer those to staff and students. And so we do these kinds of things all the time, I guess is what I want to say. But a couple other exciting ones. This summer I worked with the rec department and Steve to try to expand before and after school programming in the community. We had linked together, and they had only 40 slots available, so there was always a waiting list of families that needed that kind of support, and there really wasn't another option. So I have to say I've had a great relationship with Amy, communicating, you know, with her and Steve about, you know, what the family needs are in the area, and we've done a lot of these kinds of this program planning, leveraging the assets that are available to us to support the needs of the families. So, and we have conversations all the time about, you know, some of the behavior challenges that we see in kids today. You know, having come off the pandemic, she's seeing some similar things in the rec department. So we talk about the use of BCBAs. So we're using common techniques in the school and in the rec department, you know, to reinforce good practices. You know, it really does help the kids. So sharing resources is another thing that we've done. In fact, with the labor shortage has come some challenges around transportation. We have 5 buses for the most part this year, but we had 6 runs that we needed them for, just simply because they didn't have enough bus drivers. So when it's come to athletics, and we've expanded the athletic programs with less transportation and more need, it you know, really put us in a difficult situation. So we were able to work with the town to be able to use their van for some of our athletic programs. So it's just another way. It's already assets that we have in the community, and it's working collaboratively so that when assets are idle, you know, and there's a need, I think we've done really a nice job, Steve and his staff and my staff, with trying to find ways to, you know, take advantage of everything we have at our disposal. And then also with the library, you know, there's a community read. Your new librarian and I have met, and so we're working together on that. So I would say, I don't know if that's what you were hoping for there, but I thought when I saw the agenda item, I'd take the opportunity to, you know, really thank Steve and his staff for working so closely with us over the last several years, because families in the community have gained in so many ways because of the ongoing dialogue and collaboration. So thank you.
Yeah, I think I may have suggested that item, and I think it was just important to take the opportunity. There's always a lot of questions for different committees about the kind of interactions and the kind of collaborations, and there's been a lot over the years, and I just don't think it's obvious to people, so I thought it was important that we could at least discuss them.
Yeah,
Bring them to light.
Yeah, last winter too, we had, because the co-curricular programs we weren't able to provide them in the way that we traditionally had, and the rec department was struggling with programming. We worked all fall to provide a program for the community that all families could enjoy. The school department created most of the, I will say, curriculum, I guess programs is what you call them, in the rec department, and we provided the staff for that. So our kids, some of our older students could provide jewelry making to the younger folks in the community, and we had cooking classes, and one of our teachers did painting. So some of you might have enjoyed that, as well. It was great fun, and we weren't sure how it was going to go of people, having been inside so long. We wanted to give hope. We wanted people to feel uplifted and have something to look forward to. You get the winter doldrums, and if somebody has something to look forward to, a little hope sparked in a human soul just goes a long way. So we were trying to, put, for the next couple of weeks, here's some options, and then additional options, so that people would always be looking at the rec department website. And we could do that because Amy's setup allows for the registration piece, which I didn't have, and so we could have the programming piece, and she could have kind of the organizational backbone to do it, to advertise, and to have people register. So it was another way that we were able to do that. We do a lot. We really do a lot. So that was a fun thing I thought I mentioned too.
And I would like to take the opportunity to compliment you two and Amy and Bree for the before and after school care. I think it was about this time last year where I was losing sleep about what we were going to do along with everyone else, and what has come out of it is amazing. My kids are eager to get to school at 6:30 in the morning, which says a lot. And then they tell us that we can't pick them up until 4:30 because both Bree and Amy and I, as far as I know, we're the only community that did not have to worry about before and after school care, where I know people are turning people away. I think it's amazing. I hope the town's very proud of it.
Yeah, and I remember that discussion, the panic last year, and
Back
all we
in my
said was,
eyes.
we'll figure it out. Don't
Yeah,
worry,
yeah.
we won't let anybody. Nothing's going to happen. And you're right, we do share a lot, and we work together. And, again, when 10 years ago I was brought on, I was told, and I completely agree, that we're not two separate entities. We're one community. We're coming from one purse. When we collect taxes, it comes from one pocket. So anything we can do to help save money that way, we will. We do. Other municipalities and school districts would have their own plowing team, versus we have a plow, so you don't need to double up on that. Yeah, we take care of those things and assist the school in that situation. As I said earlier, we'll help town staff that will assist the school district if need be, or however we can, because it just doesn't make sense to do that. Additionally, we had at the beginning, during the pandemic, we did share a lot of services and a lot of information. We had some extra funds in Gopher that the school needed, so we transferred funds from the town to the school to assist them because they were in need. So we understood that we needed to do that. It's better for everybody in that situation.
Yeah, it's a small item, and it seems like 100 years ago, but 2 years ago when we were planning to reopen the school, we needed a little bit of paving just to be able to get some extra cars through it and smooth out things. And Rick and the DPW in the town just jumped right on it, got it done immediately, lent us cones and stuff, just minor things that we would have to outsource it, figure out people to do it, and plan and all that, and pay for it, and it was just great and really appreciated.
I think there was a real push for greater collaboration, and that for as long as I can remember, that was sort of the mantra, right? Like, we needed shared services, we needed to find a way to work together, we needed to find a way really to cut costs, and as part of that, there were. Who were the original people who went? It was myself and Al Zink and Dale Pike and Kim Shelton, and we went up and visited a couple different districts, and we really worked on trying to figure out a way to share services. And that model worked for a little bit, sort of. And what we realized is that the town services and the school services that we were trying to force together didn't really fit together. The financial piece, we thought, well, you've got bills, we've got bills. I'm simplifying, but why can't we just pay our bills at the same time? And that didn't really work. There were two very different skill sets involved. The facilities needs were very different. I mean, and again, it worked for a little bit, but the needs for the town are very different than the needs for the school. And through the project, probably needed more expertise than what what they need now. And the town really needs engineering. School doesn't really need a school engineer. So what we decided is that that process wasn't really working for either the school district or the town. So we stopped that facilities position, and even before that, the joint business administration. So I think forcing the collaboration didn't really work, but this natural, organic kind of collaboration had always been happening and will, I think, continue to happen. So it's just, in a perfect world, we would find a way to, I don't know, put everything under one roof and have one bill and cut costs by 50%, but that's kind of pie in the sky. I don't think that it doesn't really work that way.
I mean, organizations try things, and sometimes they work, and you reinvest in it, and sometimes they don't, and you stop reinvesting in it. But did we learn from that? What was specifically what components worked, what didn't? Why did it work for a while and not? And so that as we try new things and try to innovate in this collaboration in the future, we have, okay, let's go back and look at what we AAR did and said, this worked, this didn't.
Please, yeah.
For finance, I think the difference there is on the town side, it's a CFO. On the school side, it's a business administrator. They do more than just the finances and oversee it like our side does. For facilities, I think it was just the growth of the positions. We needed more of a project management side, whereas the schools needed more of the maintenance, hands-on, day-to-day portion of that. That's why we were looking at, okay, look, what kind of things can we take off the plate of the facilities director? It takes off the plates of some of the department heads to put in with an engineer to do the project maintenance management for larger items in review. I think at some point, I still think there's things to look at there. I still do. But it's just, at this point in time, those are some of the things and if I spoke out of school or anything, please let me know. But I think that's what I got from it. It was just, it wasn't an equal position on both sides of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. I do think, though, both of the entities have discussed the challenge that every organization is facing right now with staffing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's some very specific needs in both for staffing, but that if we have lessons learned that we can lean on if there needs to be a moment where it's hey, who's driving who and all you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And if we get to that point that we need assistance with staffing, I would definitely go to the school and ask, because look, are there positions that we can share? If you know.
And knowing, but this is why it didn't work in the past when we tried to
let's
share.
Try to fix it.
Let's try to learn
absolutely.
From that.
Yep.
So, that's one more question. Sorry.
Oh, please.
So I do think one of the original intentions of this meeting here, right? And the whole collaborative thing. I think the first step was just working together and talking to each other, and I think another was how do we collaboratively work towards a shared vision of the community, right? So that it's not just the great things of hey, we're sharing whatever back then, facilities, whatever, we're sharing and trying that, but that how are the policies that we're moving forward happening like in open communication and with a shared sense of like, okay, the community wants to really be this and this is what we're investing in. And I don't know what like the format for that is. Maybe it's part of the conversation of the charter commission.
No, if anything, it's more under the master planning portion.
Oh,
You'd bring the planning
Master
board in.
plan. That's a great
Yep.
point. Yeah.
And you'd have that, they had the visioning session, I want to say, 7 years ago? So
At least.
time for us to upgrade the
That is
master plan as
a
well?
millennia ago.
Or exactly. So, and right, everything that happened the last 2 years has changed everything. You know, way people commute, way people work, way people communicate. So yes, that was already on the plate to do anyways. So we just got to hunker down and do it now and try to update the master plan. And you're absolutely right. You can't have just these two boards without having the planning board, who's going to be
So, yeah.
right.
But I do think like the school having it has a very important
Mhm.
voice inside of that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? And are there any other items that anyone wanted to bring up at this meeting? Nope. Then I would accept a motion to enter non-public under
RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2I, security. So moved.
Second?
Actually, no,
Sorry.
it's a
Sorry.
council
Sorry.
meeting.
Sorry.
It's gonna be this side.
That happens.
I'll move that we enter non-public.
Second.
Thank you.
Roll.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and call the roll. Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Brayback?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Lamatina?
Aye.
And Counselor White?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
We're now in public session.
We adjourn.